there, Jyoti here, and welcome to Lost in Literature. Uh, I'll be doing the third part of Act 3, Scene 1. And where we left off, you had Cassius kind of reproaching Antony on the way, he was addressing Caesar. So this caused a kind of doubt in Cassius's mind. Was Antony with them or with, the others? So could Antony be counted as one of them? And then Antony promptly tells him that he's definitely planning to go with them. All right. And that even saying that much was so less for Caesar, considering how great it was. He says, even enemies will say so much, but in a friend, it was a very cold kind of expression at uh, his death, at Caesar's death. So that's what we did. And you have the picture of Antony surrounded by all these conspirators, and all of them have their swords kind of stained with Caesar's blood. And Antony has to tread very carefully because one wrong move, one wrong word from him, and they're going to slaughter him too. He knows it, so he's very careful with them. So let's start from this point. Cassius, I blame you not for praising Caesar so. I don't blame you. But what compact mean you to have with us? Now, what agreement are you ready to enter into with us? Will you be pricked in number of our friends? Can we add you and mark you as one of our friends? Or shall we carry on and not depend on you? So Antony says here, therefore I took your hands. You know very well that the minute I came, I took your hands. I shook hands with each of you to let you know that I am on your side. But momentarily, I was distracted looking at Caesar's body. Friends am I with you all, and love you all. I am your friend and I love you all. And this is the hope that I have, that you will give me reasons why and wherein Caesar was so dangerous that he had to be slain, murdered, assassinated in this manner. So then immediately Brutus says, or else were this a savage spectacle. So he says, if we are not prepared to give justification for our action, then this is going to look like a very brutal, savage killing. But our reasons are so full of good regard. All right? So we are filled with very good motives for killing Caesar. And such strong motives that if you, Antony, if you were the son of Caesar, you will be satisfied. Even if you were the son of Caesar, because our motives were strong and just for killing Caesar. Antony, and that is all I seek. That's all I want, your reasons. And am, moreover, suitor. I'm a suitor. I am somebody making a request to you. A suitor is a person who makes a request for something. And I'm a suitor that I may produce his body to the marketplace, and in the pulpit, as becomes a friend, speak in the order of his funeral. So now Antony says, "Look, I also have another request to make, and you must permit me to speak, during the funeral. I will carry him to the pulpit in the marketplace and give a talk on his glories and achievements. You should allow me to do that, because in Rome, that was the usual process. When somebody died, they were carried, their body was carried to a pulpit in the marketplace, and then somebody close to that person, like in this case, Antony, spoke to the people about the kind of person the dead one was. All right, so Antony says, I only seek permission for that. I hope you will allow me to do that. Brutus immediately agrees. He says, you shall, Mark Antony. Definitely, you will speak. You will give the funeral oration. Now, Cassius is not very happy with that. So he says, Brutus, a word with you. And then he pulls him aside and he tells him, you know not what you do. You are obviously not aware of what you're doing. Do not consent. Don't agree to this, that Antony speak in his funeral. Do not allow Antony to speak. You know how much the people may be moved by that which he will utter. You know very well that Antony is an extremely convincing speaker, and he will sway the crowd. So why are you allowing him? Then Brutus quickly explains to Cassius, look, by your pardon, with your permission, I will myself into the pulpit first. I will go to the pulpit first and show the reason of our Caesar's death. I will go on the pulpit and I will tell the people why we were obliged to kill Caesar, and I will give them reasons for it. What Antony shall speak, I will protest. Protest here means that I will say it before him. I'll announce before him. Whatever Antony has to say, I will announce it before him. So fear not, Cassius. That's what he's trying to say. And moreover, Brutus says, I will make it very clear to the public that he speaks by leave, by our permission. We are allowing him to speak. We have granted him permission to speak. Now, when the freedom of speech doesn't occur in a country, what kind of democracy is that? These people feared Caesar, that he would completely take over Rome and become a dictator. Now look at this, look at the irony of this. Brutus says, I will make it very clear to the public that he is speaking with our permission, which means this is really not a democracy at all. Rome is not a democracy. It's really an irony, and that we are contented. Caesar shall have all true rites and lawful ceremonies. And I'm also going to tell them that Caesar will be buried with all due respect and ritual. We will do everything by way of ceremony. We're going to bury him with respect. We had to kill him because we had no other choice. We had to save Rome. And we are going to bury him with full state honors. Now, what kind of democracy is this going to be, where Antony needs permission to speak about his friend? And he clearly says, I'm only going to talk about him. And normally people praise the dead person, Cassius. He tells Brutus, I know not what may fall. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't like it. Brutus, Mark Antony, See, Brutus has totally taken over the command from Cassius. He is doing everything now. So he says, Mark Antony, here, take you Caesar's body. You may bear his body away and take him to the marketplace. And then he gives, the rules that he should keep in mind while speaking to the public. You shall not in your funeral speech blame us. You're not going to blame us. All right? You're not going to say that we were wrong in murdering Caesar. But you're going to speak all the good things that you can devise. All right? That you can create, that you can imagine about Caesar, and say you are doing it by our permission. You have to make it very clear to the crowds that you are speaking with our permission. And else, now if you don't obey us in this, you shall not have any hand at all about his funeral. All right? And you shall speak in the same pulpit whereto I am going. And another thing, you are only going to talk from the same pulpit, from where I'm going to speak, and you will speak after me. First, I will address the public, and only after that, you will speak to the crowds by declaring straight away that you are speaking with our permission. Antony immediately agrees. He says, be it so. I do desire no more, and that is all I want. Brutus, prepare the body then and follow us. So, prepare the body for the funeral rites and follow us. Everybody now goes out except Antony. Now, as audience, when we are watching this play, we are a little worried about Antony, going so much along with the murderers. Because according to us, Antony must boldly challenge them, blame them. But Antony is skirting very, very dangerous grounds. So he dare not do that, because then he'll be killed and he will not be in a position to do anything in favor of Caesar after that. So once everybody, all the conspirators departed from stage, then you have Antony addressing his soliloquy to the crowd. All right? To the audience. Now, he has only the audience in front of him, and he is now speaking genuinely his true mind. And it's very clear from the speech the deep love that he has for Caesar, the deep respect and the kind of bond they shared, and how true he is to his friend, how loyal, and he's bitterly grieved to see the dead body of his friend. So from this point, the speech is addressed entirely to Caesar's body. And without any doubt, the audience, they come to know that Antony is definitely going to take action for Caesar's death. All right, he is going to take revenge, and there is no doubt about it. All right, Antony, oh, pardon me, thou bleeding piece of earth, bleeding, still bleeding piece of earth, because now Caesar is part of earth. He's going to be interred, he's going to be buried. All right, that I am meek and gentle with these butchers, please forgive me. These are butchers, and so far you must have been wondering why I'm so timid and gentle with them. You are the ruins, the remains of the noblest man that ever lived in the tide of times. Tide of times is a metaphor here, and it creates in our mind, you know, waves dashing on the shores and then retreating back into the ocean. And we get a feeling of not only flux, but of one's life itself advancing and finally just moving into the shadows in the form of death. So he says, "You are the noblest man who ever lived in the tide, in the circle of tide." All right? In the circle of time. I'm sorry, not tide. So, in the circle of time, you are the man who lived, and now you are gone. All right? Woe to the hand that shed this costly blood. I curse the hands that killed you and shed this precious blood over thy wounds, keeping your wounds as my witness. I prophesy, I foretell, I promise, I predict, which these wounds, which like dumb mouths, these wounds are opening and shutting, right? All right. So these wounds are opening and shutting like mouths, but they are not able to emit any sound. So he says, these wounds now, which are like dumb mouths, they open their ruby lips, but they are unable to tell me what they want. But I've already understood. They are begging for my voice and my utterance. All right? They want me to take up the cause of your death. And then he promises, a curse shall light upon the limbs of men. There is going to be domestic fury and fierce civil strife. He says, definitely all these people are going to feel the curse of having committed a wrong crime. And this curse is going to put them in a torture, because civil war is going to start in Italy and people are going to suffer. All right? Every part of Italy will be fighting, and it will burden all parts of Italy. This kind of civil war, blood and destruction shall be so in use. Blood and destruction is going to be so common. The violence is going to be of such terrible quality that dreadful objects, terrible scenes are going to be so normal, ordinary, everyday, familiar, that mothers will only smile. Otherwise, mothers are very, very protective, but every day they see violence to such an extent that their feelings are dead, and their own infants, their own children are cut to pieces. They will only smile. To that extent, Italy is going to see violence. Okay? All pity choked. There will be no more pity in the hearts of people, because day to day, day after day, they'll be seeing such evil deeds of violence, death, slaughter, murder. And the war is going to be so of such a degree that people will get used to all this. It'll become very common sights, and they'll have no more pity. They will be emotionally drained. And Caesar's spirit ranging for revenge. And this is the time when your spirit will come up. It will range move here and there for revenge with Ati by his side. Ati is the goddess of revenge. She will leave everything in hell and come. She'll be by the side of Caesar and helping him to take revenge. She'll be hot with the fury of what has taken place, his death, and she will be by his side and aid him. And from these shall in these regions, with Ate by his side, he says Caesar will come. He will go from place to place, and in the voice of a monarch, a person in full power, he will cry havoc, destruction of an unimaginable level, havoc, chaos, death, crime, violence, and he will let slip, release the dogs of war. And the dogs of war are what? What are the after effects of war? Famine, death, fire, total destruction. You know what's going on in the world today, right? Israel, Gaza, you know what's going on. Nothing but destruction. That this foul deed shall smell above the earth. This foul deed of having killed Caesar in the prime of his power, at the height of his power, all right? It will smell above the earth. It will stink because of the dishonor of his death, of his murder. And carrion men, dead men, will beg for burial. There will be so many bodies that people will not be able to bury them, giving them the usual rites of burial. All right? Suddenly a servant comes. You serve Octavius Caesar, do you not? Now, Octavius Caesar is a nephew of Caesar, Julius Caesar. All right? And at that point, Octavius had been away from Rome. He was in Apollonia, and there he was undergoing military training. So when he heard of Caesar's death, he had already begun to journey to Rome, all right, because it was a very serious matter. Then the servant said, yes, he did. Antony says Caesar did right for him to come to Rome, didn't he? Caesar had asked him prior to his death to come to Rome. The servant said, he did receive his letters and he's coming. And he has asked me to tell you by word of mouth. And suddenly he sees the body, the servant. Oh, Caesar, Antony, thy heart is big. So he tells the servant, your heart is big. Get thee apart and weep. Please move away and weep, because when I see your emotion, your passion, it is also spreading to me. Emotion is infectious. So he requests the servant, please move apart and give in to your grief. For my eyes, seeing those beads of sorrow in yours, is beginning to water too. Is your master coming? The servant says, yes. Right now he has halted just 21 miles, 7 leagues away from Rome. Antony, post back with speed, go back with speed, and tell him what has happened. See, the servant didn't know that Caesar has met with his death. So Antony tells him, please go back and tell him what has happened. And here Rome is mourning, and Rome is a dangerous place. It is not safe yet for Octavius to come, because obviously he's the heir of Caesar. And These conspirators are going to butcher him too. So he tells the servant, please warn him not to come. He's not to come. All right? Hie hence, go and tell him so. And stay a while, stay there. You will not come back till I have taken this body into the marketplace. And there shall I try in my speech, in my oration, how the people react to this cruel assassination of Caesar by these bloody men, the conspirators. I should know on whose side the people are before any action can be taken. So till then, I do not want Octavius to come. According to the which thou shalt describe to young Octavius of the state of things. Lend me your hand. Now give me your hand and help me to carry Caesar's body. So that is the end of scene 1, and I hope that I was quite clear with this interpretation, and I hope to see you as we move on to the next scene. If you like my channel, do hit a like and subscribe to it. You'll be getting a lot of useful tips and advice about how to handle your literature questions once I'm done with all the texts. And I'm planning to race ahead and do so pretty soon. Thank you so much, and see you again ASAP, as soon as possible. Bye for now.